Hey guys, what's up? So, Gabby, something very interesting has happened in the last few days. There's something going on in the social media streets that has really got your goat, and I am going to cede the floor and let you run with it.
It is really hard out in these social media streets, let me tell you, Dron. And you know what really grinds my gears? Yeah, I went there. I'm going with it. I don't even know what's happening right now. I think I need another cup of coffee. I just think that for me, part of the reason I got into sneakers is because of the community. I'm all about that community life. Let's build each other up. Let's talk about some ish. I'm trying to censor myself a little bit because I know I got that Jersey cursing vibe going on sometimes, but I just I find it really hard to believe and because it happens, but when we're not supportive of each other, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in segment one, like why break each other down when we can build each other up, right? And I noticed this with a sneaker outlet that I follow. I'm not going to name their names because, you know, stitches get stitches. And yeah, I said that out loud. That's right. But they featured this amazing girl and her collection. She had like 600 pairs. I mean, this
Wow.
was like what collection dreams are made of. And there were Hirachis, there were some obscure pairs. She had blazers, this, that. It was like all this cool stuff. And the caption basically was like, not the normal that you'd be wowed by if you're a hype beast. And I'm like, what? Because she is not featuring Jordans. And you know, I love my J's, but I also don't discriminate when it comes to kicks because I'm very much in the camp of, as you know, wear your kicks. But
Mhm.
why are we putting other people down for their collection? I mean, if I could live in that collection tomorrow, I would. I mean, I'm not going to give up mine to do so because I also love mine. But what the heck? What
Yeah.
do you think?
Yeah, it's so interesting because when you told me about it and I looked, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And I think, it's so much of it is how media companies basically copy off of each other and how everything
Yep.
is about lists, top fives, who's better than who, and this and that. And everything is a comparison. And I'm going to go here, and I know it's like old school way of thinking, and it's true. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? When you are consistently comparing something to something else, you fail to find the joy in that thing, right? It's like, oh, this one's better. This one, and it's the nitpicking, and it's like, hey, man, like if you like designer, what have you, and this is something we've talked about in many episodes, that's cool. That's a dope collection. That's what that person likes.
Do
If you
you?
if
Absolutely.
someone else just wants nothing but J's, okay, that's their thing, right? Like whatever floats your boat or finds your lost remote. Shout out to Outcast. That
Hey.
is what matters, right? And I do think that so much of the social media culture and what gets the clicks and the likes is that kind of thing, right? Hype beast or not, yeah, like it's all these either ors, right? These binary functions in which they social media teams from a lot of these brands do is because that's what works in our brains, right? As humans, as intelligent as we are, we're actually very simple when you really think about it. Our brains have to put things into categories to make it simple. Hot, cold, up, down, left, right, like, right? Things that just make it either or.
Yep.
But yeah, when it comes to things like art, and for many people, their sneaker collection is art. Yo, man, it's Technicolor. We got nuance here. It's not good or bad. It's not this or that. It's it. Let's discuss it.
I agree. And I think that's why you and I, when we first started talking about kind of the kicks and shit show and what this is and what we want to talk about, I think that, you know, copycat doesn't just remove joy. It also, you kind of lose the authenticity and the why, right? It's like if you're too consumed looking at what everyone else is talking about, and don't get me wrong, like we're still going to talk about the launches
Hmm.
because you have to in this
Of
industry. We're
course.
going to talk about some of those news cycles. But I think for me, what I love about our conversation here is that we're about championing people, right? Like you might have one pair in your collection, you might have 700 pairs in your collection, and it's about taking pride in what you have, what you built, and if you're passionate about it, let it fly, man. I mean, I think that's what it's all about, and to me, that's what I love about the sneaker culture
One
that
hundred
doesn't get
percent.
championed enough.
I'm with you. My cousin and his wife. I think I mentioned to you before. They're avid golfers. So I wouldn't call them sneakerheads. However, there were a couple pairs of golf sneakers that Nike had customized and made that are kind of fly. They have the threes in golf shoes.
Yep.
That Keegan Bradley wore once. They have the 11, the Concord lows in golf shoes. Even Charles Barkley's shoe line from the '90s. They have an Air CB like Chuck shoes. That custom pair made as well. I remember sending him some
Right.
pictures, and he was like, "Nah, I ain't rocking those Charles Barkley ones, but yo, if you get them Concords, I'm a size this. My wife is a size this, right?" And so they might collect just nothing but golf shoes, and guess what? That might work. You know what I mean? And they for sure won't dead stock. They will actually rock theirs, right, on the course. And I think that that's another way to show off, like, hey, my style and what this says about me and what matters to me and what's important. And I think that's what it all comes down to, right? At the end of the day, what is it about? Is it about the fashion for you? What is it? Is it about a representation of yourself? And if those are what it is and that's what it should be, is it about art, whatever, cool. Let's champion and promote that and not spend time tearing down someone else because that's not how I would do it, or that's not cool, or that's not what a hype beast would do, or whatever.
And yeah, and I agree with you. And to me, it was so surprising because I've found that the sneaker culture and the community has really embraced me. Like, do I have every launch? Absolutely not. Do I spend way too much money on sneakers? Probably not necessarily compared to the average sneakerhead, but everyone's supportive of it. And it's a conversation, and that's what I love about it. So to see some of that, I was shook.
You know, the sneaker community is definitely connected. Maybe we'll get into this at a later date. It's so many times in the sneaker community, people use that to slide into DMs. And I know that happened to Gabby very, very recently.
I am one of those people.
You are also one of those who slides into DMs, but you've got slidden into recently, but maybe you're not ready to talk about that. But that is a funny thing that one day we should probably let our viewers into.
I mean, I said this, and maybe not in any of the episodes yet, but sneakers are also my wingman. As a single lady, let me tell you, I could riff for days, and I don't think anyone wants to hear that, especially without an appropriate caffeination. But there was a time that I was out at a bar in pre-corona days, and I was wearing my Beluga version 2 Yeezys, the 350s, right? And sneakerheads are hit or miss with these in general because they've changed the sneaker culture. But for me, they're probably one of the most comfortable things I've ever put on my feet. And I was out at a bar, and some guy was like, "I'll give you $125 for those." And I'm like, I'm offended on so many levels right now because you don't think I know what I'm wearing. To me, that's offensive. You want to grind my gears? Tell me I don't know shit about sneakers. Radio edit. I'm going to censor myself on that one. Number 2, I also am someone who is Jewish. You cannot negotiate with me like that. You're going to lowball me like that? You can't even get $125 for one of the 2 pairs of sneakers, my friend. One of the 2 on my feet, okay? And then, because this man had overserved himself, when I said no and I was like, "What you know about this?" He asked if he could look up close and tried to take one off my feet.
Out.
Like, bruh, I don't think so. So I would rather have someone slide in my DMs, I guess. Maybe that's the net here. that, but it's crazy on both sides. And don't get me wrong, I have been guilty as well about sliding in those DMs. I'm a DM sneaker. I'm not a DM slider, if you know what I'm saying.
See what you did there, guys? Play on words. And I mean, as always, I got to let you have the last word on that.
I mean, you know how I feel about the last word. So I'm going to sneak on out of here.
That was so good. Thank you, guys.